The only thing I can think of is copy here. I willingly gave the phone. I didn't try to hide anything. Accidentally mentioned that John O'Keefe went into the house, because if she were to tell the truth, it would probably involve somehow her hand being either in the John O'Keefe or in the cover-up of John O'Keefe. Remember, when you create lies, the devil is in the details. When you weave a web of lies, the devil is located deep, deep, deep underneath the surface. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to your favorite show on the internet, Raw Law Unfiltered, with your favorite host of all time, the DUI Guy. Plus, today we are going to continue the Jennifer McCabe saga. This is now part 3. We are going to watch Jennifer McCabe continuously being bombarded with questions by Alan Jackson. This is by far one of the best videos of this cross-examination, because you will see how Jennifer McCabe realizes that there is a missing piece here. There is a missing piece that she completely forgot when she weaved her story. Not only that, but you will see Alan Jackson also trying to pinpoint a time when she saw tire tracks, when she saw Karen Reed's vehicle, and she's gonna be completely incapable of maintaining. Oh, folks, this video is amazing. You do not want to miss this one.
At some point you became aware that...
By the way, notice how uncomfortable and shifty-eyed Jennifer McCabe is. I mean, she is looking all over the place. She's looking to the left. She's looking to the right. I mean, it's so unseemly. It is so clear that she is extremely uncomfortable with the questions. She's hoping she's getting away with it. She's hoping that the jury is buying her BS. I mean, right there, that freeze frame right there. Look at that face. I mean, if that is not someone who is literally admitting defeat with their eyes at people who are judging her and her testimony and realizing inside that nobody is buying your BS, I don't know what is.
Your daughter, Allie, was involved in this matter to some extent, correct?
Yes.
You became aware that there was an extraction of your phone that revealed some data about her whereabouts.
That's not how I became aware now.
Like 360?
Yes, I know what that is.
Okay, that's what I'm asking about. You became aware that you know your phone was extracted, correct?
I willingly handed over my phone.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
You know that your phone was extracted.
Yes, I handed it over.
And you know that your daughter's whereabouts...
Notice how she seems so proud of that fact. Yes, I willingly handed it over. She wants to make an emphasis on that point. She is emphasizing that point. She is leaning forward. She's like, I want to make sure that you are aware. I willingly gave the phone. I didn't try to hide anything. That's what that sounds like. She just doesn't know it.
were revealed based on data on that phone, correct?
That is not how I became aware of my daughter's whereabouts.
You testified at the state grand jury, questioning by Mr. Lally, correct?
Yes.
You were asked about the Life 360.
Yes.
You answered those questions very fluidly.
Yes.
Yes, I know what Life 360 is. I use it all the time. It's an app, etc.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go over that for a second. You admitted that it works as a, quote, GPS as far as where people go and everywhere that you go, correct?
Correct.
You indicated that it works as a reliable, quote unquote, tracking device, was your testimony.
Correct.
You indicated that you rely on it, quote, so you know where your kids are at all times. Is that right?
Correct.
And you even said that it's a quote unquote good parenting tool. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you said that is because it's accurate in your experience and it's reliable. Is that right?
It's a good tool, but it is not always accurate.
But you said, when you testified in front of the great grand jury, that it's accurate and it works as a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere you go, correct?
Objection.
Did you say that?
Yeah, did you not?
Can I see it?
Sure.
Sure. She knows. She knows he's got her. And remember, all this time that is being spent while Alan is getting the paper to her, in her mind, she's already concocting her response. How am I going to respond to this? She's cooking. We just can't see it.
May I approach you on it?
Yes.
Lines 13 through 15.
You said 13 through 15?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it's
Okay.
taking her so long to read 2 lines, but hey.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection?
It does, yes.
Question and answer?
Well, I just don't see the word accurate on there. I don't know if I missed it.
Ms. McCabe, does that refresh your recollection as to the question and answer about whether you said it works as sort of a GPS as far as where you go and everywhere that you go?
Correct.
And your answer was, yeah. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So where did Allie go after she supposedly dropped off Colin Albert?
She went nowhere.
Did you check her Life 360 app to verify that she went, quote, nowhere?
At that point, I had no reason to check her.
So the answer is no, you didn't.
No.
Okay.
See, again, because she's having so much trouble keeping exactly what she's supposed to know at which juncture with respect to the investigation, because who just checks on their daughter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Even though you have the accessibility for it, doesn't mean that you actually like stare at your phone watching them where they are at all times. I mean, you have your own life to lead, you know what I mean, as a parent. You're only going to revert to the technology in case something happens, and you may do it at a later time, but to do that in real time makes no sense, and her response makes no sense. So Alan got her to correct her answer, as rightfully he should have, because it makes no sense. How could she have known her whereabouts at the exact moment unless she checked later?
Did you ever verify through the Life 360 app that in fact Allie did not go home, but rather was out driving until after 1:30 a.m.? You ever check the app and see that?
Did I ever check Life 360 app for that?
Yep.
No.
Okay. But you believed her when she said she came home.
Yes.
And just like you believed her when she said she picked up Colin, dropped him off, and then came home.
Yes.
Okay. The Alberts have a dog.
So before we get to the dog, you see, if you've not watched Allie McCabe's testimony, I very strongly encourage you watch. It's not very long. I was in the courtroom. She burst into tears because she had a huge slip up. Accidentally, she accidentally mentioned that John O'Keefe went into the house. And she actually started crying on the stand, thinking that she screwed up royally, that she completely botched the entire case. She may have been one of the weakest links thus far. Allie McCabe's 360 data, Life 360 data, has shown that Allie was out driving until about 1:30 in the morning. She was cross-examined on it by Alan Jackson. And of course, Allie tried to get out of it by saying, well, I was within the bubble of the range. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I don't know how Life 360 works either. But essentially, as I understand it, you basically have a location. And in that location, there's like a bubble that surrounds the location, right? And that bubble is fairly large, but it's not enormous, you know? It's basically an alert to the parent when your child is within the vicinity of the location that you have registered on the phone, like, oh, they're approaching the location, they should be there soon, or something like that. Well, Allie McCabe tried to argue that she was within the bubble of like her school or something, and I guess she tried to make them seem much larger than they are. Now, because of my personal unfamiliarity with Life 360 and how it works, since I don't have any children of my own, and I was raised at a time before Life 360 was a thing, thank God. I would not want to be tracked by my parents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That sounds terrifying, especially when I'm sneaking. I mean, you know, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But the important thing is, Allie tried to make it seem like she was within the bubble of some of the locations where Alan Jackson was telling her that she was. And she kept saying, no, I was attached to a different bubble. Basically, that 1:30 in the morning escapade that you're telling me that I was driving around. No, I was just within some other bubble. It gets very messy. It gets very hairy again. The more lies, it gets very complicated. This is why I'm having so much trouble articulating it, because I'm trying to recall the lies that Allie McCabe was trying to weave with respect to the Life 360. And now we have Jennifer McCabe, once again, in a way, not necessarily admitting. Remember, on cross-examination, she's not the one testifying. It may seem like it. On cross-examination, you, the attorney, are the one who is testifying. And Alan Jackson, the attorney, the one who is testifying during this cross-examination, reminded the jurors that Allie was out until 1:30 in the morning, meaning her and her mom are in cahoots. That's it.
Dog. Pardon me. Correct?
Yes.
What was the dog's name?
Chloe.
You indicated that on the morning of January 29th, after 6 a.m., when it was still relatively dark out, you burst into the bedroom of Brian and Nicole Albert's home, correct?
Yes.
You did that specifically to wake up, according to you, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, correct?
Yes.
Where was Chloe?
I don't know.
So you'll agree that, at least from their perspective, you walked in the front door unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
You walked upstairs unexpectedly, correct?
Yes.
Still dark outside, right?
Yes.
You walked through their door, and you said you burst into the door into a dark room where they were sleeping, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Albert said that you were somewhat hysterical. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You were loud.
Remember, when you create lies, the devil is in the details. When you weave a web of lies, the devil is located deep, deep, deep underneath the surface. They created this whole story about how she burst into the house and burst into the room and she was hysterical. There's a 70-pound hunter dog, practically a wolf, living in this house. And this wolf is just basically like, oh, hysteria, I'm just gonna chill. No barking, no reaction. He didn't attack Jennifer. They forgot to account for the animal. They forgot to fixate on how a dog would react if the facts of their story were actually facts. If the lies of their story are to be true, they needed to account for the dog, and they forgot. They forgot to account for the dog. Common mistake, very common mistake, because when you're lying, it's very difficult to keep track of everything. That's one of the ways how you can tell someone is lying, is because their story doesn't make any sense logistically. A 70-pound dog would not be reacting to a hysterical woman bursting into the house and knocking down multiple doors? Please. Alan knows this, and now he's showing the jury that. This is enormous for the jury. This is huge for Karen Reed.
Loud, right?
I was trying to wake them up.
You were somewhat chaotic.
Yes.
And you don't remember a 70-pound German Shepherd having any reaction.
It's literally like, the only thing I can think of is Kabi here. The 70-pound dog, no reaction. What? Think about it. It's mental. It's absolutely mental that a 70-pound German Shepherd would not react to a woman bursting into the house like that. Come on.
No.
Matter of fact, you don't remember the dog being there at all, correct?
Correct.
You never saw that dog, correct?
I have no memory of seeing that dog.
Okay, so as you sit here today, you cannot say that the dog was here because you don't have a memory of ever seeing it,
I
right?
did not see it, no.
And remind me once again, when you were leaving that night, that early morning before, who was the last person to leave? It was Caitlin?
I believe she left after us.
we've talked about this, and I want to get into a little bit more detail about it. You indicated that at some point you looked outside and you saw Karen Reed's SUV in front of the house. Safe to say, correct?
Correct.
About what time was that you first saw it?
I can just give you maybe approximates. I know I texted when I saw them, so whatever time that was.
All right, let's see if we can narrow that down just a little bit. You also indicated that you saw Ryan Nagel's vehicle outside.
Saw lights.
Okay. Lights belonging to the vehicle, right?
Yes, I knew there was another vehicle outside.
And where was that in relation to Miss Reed's vehicle?
It was behind it. I didn't pay much attention to it.
Okay. And where was the Jeep in relation to Ryan Nagel's vehicle and Karen Reed's SUV?
I remember seeing Karen Reed's SUV straight, and then I saw the lights of Ryan Nagel. I did not pay attention to where it was. I was just looking at Miss Reed's vehicle.
Was Ryan Nagel's vehicle and those lights that you remember, were they in front of the Jeep or behind the Jeep?
I am not certain.
Haven't you testified previously that you remember the Jeep being between Ryan Nagel's vehicle and the SUV?
I am not certain where Ryan Nagel's vehicle was.
So as you sit here now, you don't know if it was in front of the Jeep as you placed it by the mailbox.
It would
Let me
be,
finish my question. Behind the Jeep or somewhere in between?
it definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
Definitely was not in front of the Jeep.
No.
So it was definitely behind the Jeep.
Behind or to the side, I'm not sure.
Well, if it's parked on the street in front of the house, it's not going to be beside the Jeep, right? That's going to be in the middle of
It
the road.
would have been in the middle of the road, correct. So if it's pulled over, it's behind the Jeep.
Okay, so now we've narrowed that down. It's Karen Reed's SUV. As we're looking at the property, Karen Reed's SUV. To the right of that, as we're looking at from the street, at the property, to the right of that Jeep, behind that Ryan Nagel's vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You sure about that?
Oh?
If my memory serves right, yes.
If your memory serves you. Okay. So, you were asked about the arrival of Mr. Nagel's car at the state grand jury. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
That was in April 26th, 2022. Just
Okay.
remember. Okay. Does that sound about right? I
Yep.
don't expect you to
Yes.
memorize that date.
Yes.
You were asked what time did you see Ryan Nagel's vehicle arrive at the location, and you indicated that it was 12:23. You remember that?
Do you have it?
I do.
Again, she's like 12:23. Did I say that? Oh, yes, I did. I did say that when I thought that we're going to be protected and none of this will ever see the light of jury trial. Now that she has to answer for her crimes, how on earth do you pinpoint, oh, I saw Brian Nagel's vehicle at 12:23 a.m. And now she can't remember at all. That's what she was afraid to answer, because she knew Alan has the answer already. And she tried to fish it out of him. And she got it successfully. But it's still not enough. Because Alan Jackson still has Jennifer McCabe testifying that she saw the vehicle at 12:23. It's too specific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who looks at their watch or their phone
Lines 21.
when somebody
Highlighted.
pulls up? I mean, sometimes, maybe. But why doesn't she remember it now? If
Okay.
if that was a fact.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
Let's find out.
You were asked, do we know what time the brother came? Meaning Ryan Nagel.
Okay.
Correct?
Correct.
And the question from Mr. Lally was, that was from a grand juror, the question from Mr. Lally was, if you know, correct?
Correct.
And your answer was, I believe he was out front at 12:23. Is that right?
Correct.
And the reason you could be so precise with that time, Ms. McCabe, is because you had asked Julie Nagel to give you her text messages with Ryan for that night, and you'd refreshed your recollection about the time, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you've also testified that as soon as you saw Miss Reed's SUV, you texted John. Is that right?
Correct.
Here, exclamation point, question mark. That was the first text, right?
Correct.
But your text to John was at 12:27. You recall that?
Yes.
That's 4 minutes after you know Ryan Nagel arrived at the scene, correct?
Correct.
Since Karen Reed arrived before Ryan Nagel, she and John had to have been there 4 to 5 minutes before you ever saw her SUV, correct?
Objection.
Is that right?
Ryan Nagel texted his sister at 12:23 here. And then he texted again that he was going to leave. Then Julie Nagel went outside
Ms.
and
McCabe, that's not my question.
I'm explaining what happened in the 4 minutes.
You can explain at another question. My question is very specific. Given the fact that Karen Reed, by definition, arrived at the location before Ryan Nagel, and Ryan Nagel arrived at 12:23, that means, and you didn't notice the SUV until 12:27, that means her car was there for at least 4 minutes before you ever noticed it, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct? Can you answer that question?
Correct.
There we go. We got a timeline. Another piece. No matter how hard Jennifer McCabe tries to resist, Alan Jackson is never going to relent off of her. That's what she fails to understand. That's where she is crumbling. That's why she is crumbling, because he's getting into the details, the nitty-gritty specifics, and that unravels the entire cover-up of the murder and trying to pin the murderer on Karen Reed. Watch this.
The snow condition. We've heard a lot about the snow condition. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. But it's safe to say that you would agree with me that it was a light dusting of snow, correct? I should be specific about the time. It was a light dusting of snow at or around 12 to 12:30, 12:45, something like that.
It was starting to accumulate.
Okay. And accumulate means stick to the ground, not just fall and melt, right?
Yes.
So it was starting to turn like a very thin blanket of white.
Yes.
You indicate that, or you indicated on Friday that you saw some sort of tire tracks. Is that right?
On Friday? I don't believe.
I thought in your testimony to Mr. Lally on Friday, you indicated that you saw some tire tracks. I could be wrong.
Yes, I don't remember that.
Okay, well, let me ask you, did you see any tire tracks?
At one point, yes.
Okay, when was that point?
I'm not sure.
Was it before Ms. Reed's vehicle got there? Was it after? Let's use that as a barometer first.
I believe it was after Miss Reed's vehicle was there because that's why I was drawn to look outside.
And what did those tire tracks look like? How would you describe them?
Almost like as a wave went like this. So
Like a half J?
to my recollection, it was almost like started if Miss Reed's vehicle's here, let's pretend, it was kind of like that.
Just
Like a bit of a wave. So if you started on coming towards her, it'd be more of a wave.
Okay.
Like this in the road.
What it sounds like is, perhaps, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but perhaps what you're describing is tracks in the middle of the road. If someone is pulling off parallel, they would pull to the right and then stop. And those are the tracks that you saw? That's the wave that you saw?
It wasn't up to her car. It doesn't look like your description.
Okay, fair enough, I'm just trying here. So if it didn't go up to her car, those tracks belong to somebody else.
Well, when I saw her car, it had already moved up.
Well, wait a minute, you already said that when you saw her car, it was directly in front of you.
And then it moved at one point.
Right, that's not what I'm asking about. Let's just take the point at which you first saw the car. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. When you first saw the car, that's when you saw the tire tracks. You just said that.
No, I did not say when I first saw the car, I saw the tire tracks.
I thought you just said a couple of questions ago that you saw the tire tracks because your attention was drawn to her car. That would be the first time you saw her car, correct?
I'm saying I saw the tire tracks because I was looking out at her car. I never said when I saw the tire tracks or where her car was when I saw the tire tracks.
Well, I thought you just said, because I asked, when did you see the tire tracks? You said, I saw the tire tracks when I looked and saw her car because my attention was drawn to her car. I saw the tire tracks. That would be the first time you looked at her car, correct?
Doesn't have to be the first time I looked at her car. I looked out multiple times.
Did you see the tire tracks the second time?
Well, I'm not exactly sure.
Did you see them the third time?
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay, so it could have been the first time.
Could have been.
But they didn't lead to the back tires of her car, did they?
No.
Her attempts are, once again, as you can see, at creating and making sure that she maintains her story. It's so hard. It's so difficult because when you tell the truth, it is a lot easier. Unfortunately, Jennifer McCabe is incapable of telling the truth because if she were to tell the truth, it would probably involve somehow her hand being either in the murder of John O'Keefe or in the cover-up of the murder of John O'Keefe. And that is why she continues minute in and minute out during this cross-examination, having such an epically difficult time answering the simplest of questions. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all are starting to see how vile and nasty and mean and disgusting Jennifer McCabe truly is. The puppet master, the one who pulls the strings, is now finally getting her day in court. Because this is not Karen Reed's day in court. Jennifer McCabe is going to have to lawyer up pretty soon, hopefully. I thank you all for joining me. I hope you all learned something, and I will see you all in the next video. Every day, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, everybody.